My favorite teacher replaced me with the pretty girl. He was grooming her, refused to recommend me for college, and said I'd made everything up. Today, he's apologizing from jail. I was 14 years old when my father was chopped into pieces in a tragic boating accident. He was my best friend, the type to speak softly and always understand where you're coming from. Since he was an English teacher, we bonded over that, too. Because his death was so sudden, I felt like I needed a replacement for him in my life. In my young, impressionable mind, that gap could be filled by one person and one person only, my English teacher, Mr. Davies. My entire school career revolved around trying to make him love me. He would always talk about how he had never had a star pupil or how hard he was to impress. So I wanted to be the first, the outlier. I knew deep down that I shouldn't be craving his validation, but I didn't care, mainly because it distracted me from my dad's death. Fast forward 4 years later, I'm now in senior year. My high school is private, so I still had Mr. Davies as an English teacher. Up until now, I've entered every writing competition, stayed after class, and helped tutor other students so his class average could be higher. But the most I've ever gotten is a slightly encouraging half smile. Meanwhile, Olivia was practically his best friend, despite being a dimwit. But she was blonde and pretty, so she'd get praised for everything. One time, when she handed in her homework the day it was due instead of 3 days late, he publicly announced that she was the best student in all his time teaching. Another time, on her birthday, he brought in a huge cake and balloons for her that lasted the entire week. But when I reminded him it was mine, he just said, "Congrats," before returning to his work. It broke my heart, but I wasn't giving up. So when I needed a letter for my dream university, I asked Mr. Davies. "Sure, come back tomorrow afternoon," he said. I just nodded like it wasn't a big deal, but as soon as I turned the corner, I was smiling harder than SpongeBob. My heart was fluttering. I had more confidence than ever. The next day when I showed up, he told me to leave. "I won't need your help to fill this out. I'll let you know when it's done." My face fell, but I was still glad he was going to do it. As I left, however, my blood turned cold because I ran into Olivia. She was walking into Mr. Davies' office wearing a tiny skirt and top. In her hands was what looked like the recommendation letter template. Her blonde hair bounced as she walked. I tried to glare at her hard enough to burn a hole through her. It didn't work, so I settled for unliking all her posts on Instagram on the bus ride home. A few weeks passed, and there was still no word from him. Then came the week of the deadline. I checked my application process, and still, there was no letter. So the next day, I came into his class early. "You're not really Ivy League material," he said, locking eyes with me. I could feel my heart beating in my chest. "What are you talking about?" "Well," he interrupted, "I just don't think you've ever put in that much effort." My head was thumping. I knew it was because he wanted Olivia to get in instead of me. At that moment, something inside me broke. I was finally seeing him for what he was. Not some superhero, not a man who just got me. He was a creep, and Olivia wasn't my enemy. She was his victim. So, I agreed with him, told him I was in over my head. Little did he know, I was about to rip him into pieces. I went straight to the library and used one of the computers to start documenting everything I could remember about Mr. Davies' inappropriate behavior toward Olivia. The birthday celebration, the special treatment, the way he looked at her when he thought no one was watching. I also wrote down how he promised to write me a recommendation letter and then refused, claiming I hadn't put in effort despite my perfect grades and extracurricular activities. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this information yet, but it felt good to get it all down. I printed out my notes and tucked them into my backpack. As I was leaving the library, I literally ran into Olivia. My papers went flying everywhere, and she helped me pick them up. That's when she saw her name on one of the pages. "Why are you writing about me?" she asked, her voice more curious than angry. I panicked and grabbed the paper from her hand. "It's nothing," I said. "Just some notes for a project." She gave me a weird look, but didn't push it. As she walked away, I had a thought. Maybe Olivia wasn't as oblivious as I thought. Maybe she knew exactly what Mr. Davies was doing and was using it to her advantage. Or maybe she was completely in the dark about how inappropriate his attention was. Either way, I needed to find out. The next day, I decided to try talking to Olivia. I caught up with her after lunch and asked if she wanted to study together for the upcoming English test. She seemed surprised but agreed. We planned to meet at the local coffee shop after school. When we got there, I bought us both coffees and tried to make small talk. It was awkward at first. We'd never been friends, and she probably sensed I didn't like her, but eventually, we started talking about college applications. Mr. Davies is writing my recommendation for Yale, she said, stirring her coffee. He says I have a really good chance of getting in. I try not to show how angry that made me. That's great, I said. He refused to write mine. Said I wasn't Ivy League material. Olivia looked genuinely shocked. What? But you're like the smartest person in our grade. Your essays are always perfect. I hadn't expected that response. It made me reconsider my assumptions about her. Maybe she wasn't as aware of the situation as I thought. Can I ask you something? I said, lowering my voice. Don't you think it's weird how Mr. Davies treats you? The birthday party, the constant praise, the special attention. Olivia's face changed. She looked down at her coffee. I guess I never really thought about it. My parents are never around, so it's nice to have someone who cares, you know? That hit me hard because I understood exactly what she meant. After my dad died, I'd been looking for the same thing. The difference was Mr. Davies had rejected me and latched onto Olivia instead. I think there might be something inappropriate about his interest in you, I said carefully. Teachers shouldn't have favorites like that, and they definitely shouldn't bring cakes and balloons for one student's birthday, but ignore everyone else's. Olivia was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. He told me I'm special, that I have potential no one else can see. He says we have a connection that goes beyond teacher and student. My stomach dropped. This was worse than I thought. Mr. Davies wasn't just playing favorites. He was grooming Olivia, and she had absolutely no idea what was happening to her. I felt sick to my stomach hearing Olivia talk about her special connection with Mr. Davies. It was textbook grooming behavior, and I couldn't believe I'd been so blinded by my own issues that I hadn't seen it sooner. For years, I'd been jealous of her when I should have been concerned. Has he ever, touched you or anything? I asked, trying to sound casual, even though my heart was racing. Olivia shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Not really. I mean, sometimes he puts his hand on my shoulder when he's looking at my work. And once he hugged me after I won that poetry contest. I nodded, trying not to show how alarmed I was. Does he text you or contact you outside of school? Yeah, sometimes, she admitted. He gave me his personal number for academic emergencies. He sends me articles about writing and stuff. Red flag after red flag. I took a deep breath. Olivia, I don't want to freak you out, but what you're describing isn't normal teacher behavior. It sounds like he might be grooming you. Grooming? She looked confused. Like for a job or something? No, like preparing you for something inappropriate. Teachers shouldn't be giving students their personal numbers or telling them they have special connections. It's crossing a line. Olivia's face flushed. You're just jealous because he likes me better than you. And there it was, the exact response I'd expected. I couldn't really blame her. I probably would have reacted the same way a few days ago. Maybe I am jealous, I admitted. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Just be careful, okay? And if he ever makes you uncomfortable, you can talk to me. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. We finished our coffees in awkward silence, and I knew I hadn't convinced her of anything. The next day at school, I decided to take a different approach. If Olivia wouldn't listen to me, maybe someone else would. During lunch, I went to see Ms. Evans, the school counselor. She was young and seemed pretty cool, so I thought she might actually take me seriously. I knocked on her office door, and she waved me in with a smile. What can I help you with today? She asked. I hesitated. Now that I was here, I wasn't sure how to start. I'm worried about a teacher's behavior toward a student, I finally said. Ms. Evans's expression turned serious. Can you tell me more about that? I explained everything. The birthday celebrations, the special treatment, the recommendation letter situation, and what Olivia had told me about their connection. Ms. Evans listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she put down her pen. These are serious concerns, she said. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll need to look into this further. What will happen now? I asked. I'll need to speak with both Olivia and Mr. Davies separately, and I'll have to report this to the principal. But I want you to know that your name won't come up in these conversations. We'll protect your privacy. I felt relieved, but also nervous. What if Mr. Davies somehow figured out I was the one who reported him? What if Olivia hated me for it? But I knew I was doing the right thing. One more thing, I said. I still need a recommendation letter for Yale. The deadline is next week. Ms. Evans smiled. I'd be happy to write one for you. Just email me your resume and a brief statement about why you want to attend Yale. I thanked her and left, feeling like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Someone was finally taking me seriously. The next few days were tense. I kept expecting Mr. Davies to confront me, but he acted completely normal in class. Too normal, actually. He didn't call on me once, even when I was the only one with my hand up. It was like I'd become invisible to him. Olivia, on the other hand, was definitely avoiding me. She switched seats in the classes we shared and didn't make eye contact in the hallway. I figured Ms. Evans must have talked to her already. On Thursday, something weird happened. Mr. Davies wasn't in class. Instead, we had a substitute teacher who said he'd called in sick. The sub handed out some busy work and then sat at the desk playing on his phone for the rest of the period. After class, I overheard some girls talking. "Did you see Olivia this morning? She was crying in the bathroom." I felt a pang of guilt. Had my report made things worse for her? I decided to try talking to her again. I found her at her locker between periods. "Hey," I said, approaching cautiously. "Are you okay? I heard you were upset earlier." She slammed her locker shut. "Why do you care? You're the one who went to Ms. Evans, aren't you?" I was taken aback. "How did you know that?" "Mr. Davies told me," she hissed. "He said someone was spreading lies about him, trying to ruin his career. He was really upset." My blood ran cold. Ms. Evans told him I was the one who reported him? No, but it was pretty obvious. Who else would it be? "You've always been jealous of our relationship." I tried to stay calm. "Olivia, think about what you just said. Our relationship. Teachers and students don't have relationships. They have professional interactions." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever. You've ruined everything. He was going to help me get into Yale, and now he's probably going to get fired because of you. If he gets fired, it's because of his own inappropriate behavior," I said firmly. "Not because of me." Olivia just shook her head and walked away. I stood there feeling frustrated and worried. If Mr. Davies knew I'd reported him, what would he do? And how had he found out in the first place? I decided to go back to Ms. Evans's office, but her door was locked. A note on the door said she was out for the rest of the day. Great timing. The next morning, I arrived at school early, determined to talk to Ms. Evans before classes started. As I walked down the empty hallway toward her office, I heard raised voices coming from inside. I slowed down, trying to hear what was being said. "This is completely unprofessional," a man's voice said. It was Mr. Davies, and he sounded angry. "You can't just take the word of one jealous student and launch an investigation." "It's standard procedure, Robert," Ms. Evans replied calmly. "When concerns are raised about a teacher's conduct, we have to look into it. It's not personal." "Not personal? My entire career is on the line because of some teenager's vendetta." I pressed myself against the wall next to the door, heart pounding. I shouldn't be eavesdropping, but I couldn't make myself walk away. "No one's career is on the line yet," Ms. Evans said. "This is just a preliminary inquiry, but I have to say, your reaction isn't helping your case." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means that innocent people typically cooperate with investigations rather than trying to intimidate witnesses." There was a pause. "I don't know what you're talking about. Olivia told me you confronted her about our conversation. That was completely inappropriate, Robert, and it suggests you have something to hide." Another pause. "I think I need to speak with my union representative before continuing this conversation." "That's your right. But in the meantime, the principal has decided you should take a few days of administrative leave while we sort this out." "This is ridiculous," Mr. Davies muttered. "All because I refused to write a letter for one entitled student." I heard footsteps approaching the door and quickly ducked into the nearest bathroom. Through the crack in the door, I watched Mr. Davies storm past, his face red with anger. I waited a few minutes before slipping out and knocking on Ms. Evans's door. She looked tired but managed to smile when she saw me. "Come in," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "I think Mr. Davies knows I reported him." I blurted out as soon as I sat down. "He told Olivia someone was spreading lies about him, and she figured out it was me." Ms. Evans frowned. "That's concerning. He shouldn't be discussing this with students at all, especially not Olivia. I'll add this to my report." She made a note on her legal pad. "How are you doing with all this?" "It can't be easy." I shrugged. "I'm okay. Mostly worried about Olivia. She's really mad at me. Give her time. This is confusing for her. She's formed an attachment to Mr. Davies, and it's hard for her to see that his behavior might be inappropriate." I nodded. "What happens now?" "Mr. Davies will be on leave for at least a week while we investigate. The principal is taking this very seriously. In the meantime, try to focus on your own studies and don't worry about your recommendation letter. I sent mine in yesterday. I thanked her and headed to my first class, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. On one hand, someone was finally taking action. On the other hand, I'd made an enemy of both Mr. Davies and Olivia. The next week was weird. We had a substitute for English class who clearly had no idea what she was doing. She just had us read silently for most of the period while she scrolled through her phone. The rumor mill was working overtime with different stories about why Mr. Davies was absent. Some people said he had a family emergency. Others said he was being investigated for giving answers to the upcoming AP exam. No one seemed to know the truth except me and Olivia. Speaking of Olivia, she was still avoiding me. I tried to talk to her a few times, but she always walked away. I noticed she was spending a lot of time on her phone, texting someone with a worried expression. I had a bad feeling about who might be on the other end of those texts. On Thursday afternoon, I was walking to the bus when I saw Olivia getting into a car in the school parking lot. It wasn't her car. She drove a blue Honda that her parents had given her for her birthday. This was a black sedan I didn't recognize. I couldn't see who was driving, but something about the situation felt off. I made a split-second decision and ran over to the car, reaching it just as Olivia was closing the door. I tapped on the window, and she rolled it down with an annoyed expression. "What do you want?" she asked. I glanced at the driver and felt my stomach drop. It was Mr. Davies. He was supposed to be on administrative leave, not picking up students from school. "Olivia, you shouldn't be going anywhere with him," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "He's on leave pending an investigation." Mr. Davies leaned forward, his face appearing next to Olivia's. "We're just going to get coffee and discuss her college essay. It's completely innocent." "Then why are you hiding in the parking lot instead of meeting at school or in a public place with her parents?" I challenged. Olivia rolled her eyes. "My parents don't care what I do. They're never even home." "That's exactly the problem," I said. "He's taking advantage of the fact that you don't have proper adult supervision." Mr. Davies's friendly facade slipped for a moment, and I saw anger flash in his eyes. "You need to mind your own business," he said coldly. "You've already caused enough trouble with your lies." "They're not lies," I insisted. "And if everything is so innocent, why are you meeting with a student when you're supposed to be on leave? Does the principal know about this?" Olivia looked uncertain for the first time. "Maybe we should do this another time," she said to Mr. Davies. "I don't want you to get in more trouble." He turned to her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Don't worry about me. I'm not going to let a jealous student ruin our special connection. Remember what we talked about? How some people just don't understand." I felt sick hearing him use those manipulative tactics right in front of me. "Olivia, please don't go with him. This isn't right." She hesitated, looking between me and Mr. Davies. I could see the conflict on her face. "Fine," she finally said, unbuckling her seat belt. "I'll just go home. This is too dramatic." Mr. Davies grabbed her arm. "We had plans. Don't let her manipulate you." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling Ms. Evans right now if you don't let her go." He released Olivia's arm and glared at me. "You're making a big mistake. Both of you." Olivia got out of the car, and Mr. Davies sped away, tires screeching on the pavement. We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. "You should report this," I finally said. "He's not supposed to be contacting students while he's on leave." Olivia hugged herself, looking small and confused. "I don't know what to do anymore. He keeps texting me, saying they're trying to destroy his career, and I'm the only one who can help him." "That's manipulation," I said gently. "He's trying to make you feel responsible for his problems." She nodded slowly. "I think I need to talk to Ms. Evans." "I'll go with you if you want," I offered. "Okay," she said in a small voice. We walked back to the school together. Most of the students had already left, but the administrative offices were still open. Ms. Evans was surprised to see us, but invited us into her office immediately. Olivia told her everything. The texts, the phone calls, and now Mr. Davies trying to pick her up from school. She even showed Ms. Evans her phone with dozens of messages from him. Some were about her essay, but others were more personal, telling her how special she was and how no one understood their connection. Ms. Evans's face grew more serious as she scrolled through the messages. "This is extremely inappropriate," she said. "Thank you for showing me this, Olivia. I know it wasn't easy." "What's going to happen now?" Olivia asked, her voice shaking. "I need to report this to the principal immediately. Mr. Davies has violated the terms of his administrative leave by contacting a student. This changes things significantly. She turned to me. And thank you for intervening today. That was very brave. I shrugged, embarrassed by the praise. I just happened to see them. After we left Ms. Evans's office, Olivia turned to me. I'm sorry I didn't believe you before. I thought he really cared about me. It's not your fault, I said. He's the adult. He's the one who should have known better. She nodded, blinking back tears. Do you think I could still get into Yale without his recommendation? Definitely, I said. Ms. Evans wrote me an amazing letter. I bet she'd write one for you, too, if you asked. The next day, Mr. Davies wasn't just on leave. He was suspended pending a formal investigation. The principal made an announcement during morning announcements, saying only that Mr. Davies would be absent for the foreseeable future and that a permanent substitute would be taking over his classes. The rumor mill went into overdrive. Someone had seen Olivia and me going into Ms. Evans's office together, and now people were speculating that we had both filed complaints about Mr. Davies. Some people were supportive, but others, especially some of the girls who had also received special attention from him, were angry. Way to ruin a good teacher's career. One girl hissed at me in the hallway. Just because you weren't his favorite. I ignored her and kept walking. I knew the truth, and that was what mattered. After school, Olivia found me at my locker. Can we talk? She asked. We went to the library and found a quiet corner. Olivia looked nervous, fidgeting with the strap of her backpack. I got another text from Mr. Davies last night, she said. He's really angry. He says I betrayed him and that I'll regret it. My stomach dropped. Did you tell Ms. Evans? Yeah, I forwarded it to her. She said they're considering getting a restraining order. Good, I said firmly. He shouldn't be contacting you at all. Olivia bit her lip. There's something else. Something I didn't tell Ms. Evans because I was too embarrassed. She took a deep breath. Mr. Davies has pictures of me. Nothing like naked or anything. But he took photos of me during that birthday celebration and some other times when we were alone in his classroom. He said they were for a project, but now I'm worried about what he's going to do with them. I felt a chill run down my spine. You need to tell Ms. Evans about this, too. Those pictures could be evidence. She nodded. I know. I will. I feel so stupid. How did I not see what was happening? Because he's good at manipulation, I said. That's what predators do. They make you think you're special so you don't question their behavior. We went back to Ms. Evans's office together. Olivia told her about the pictures, and Ms. Evans immediately called the principal. They decided to involve the police at this point, given the threatening nature of Mr. Davies's recent text and the existence of the photos. The next few days were intense. Olivia and I both had to give statements to a police officer who specialized in cases involving minors. He was kind but thorough, asking detailed questions about every interaction we'd had with Mr. Davies. I told him about the recommendation letter situation and how Mr. Davies had tried to pick Olivia up from school. Olivia shared the texts and mentioned the photos. The officer told us they would be getting a warrant to search Mr. Davies's home and devices. You've both been very brave, he said. This kind of behavior often goes unreported because students are afraid or confused about what's happening. Word got around school that the police were involved, and suddenly the tide of opinion shifted. People who had been defending Mr. Davies started to question his behavior. Girls who had received similar special attention from him began coming forward with their own stories. One junior, Chloe, told me that Mr. Davies had offered to tutor her privately at his home last year. I didn't go because it felt weird, she said. But I never thought to report it. I just thought he was being nice. The more stories that emerged, the clearer it became that Mr. Davies had a pattern of targeting vulnerable girls. Ones with absent parents like Olivia, or ones struggling with personal issues like Chloe, whose parents had recently divorced. A week after our police interviews, Ms. Evans called Olivia and me to her office. The principal was there, too, looking solemn. We wanted to update you on the situation, Ms. Evans said. The police found evidence on Mr. Davies's computer that corroborates your statements. There were photos of several female students, including you, Olivia, and there were inappropriate text exchanges with at least 3 current and former students. The principal cleared his throat. Mr. Davies has been terminated from his position, effective immediately, and the police are pursuing charges against him for inappropriate conduct with minors. Will we have to testify? Olivia asked, her voice small. It's possible, Ms. Evans admitted. But the evidence they found might be enough without testimony. The district attorney will make that determination. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Mr. Davies was gone, but this wasn't over yet. There would be more interviews, possibly a trial, and definitely more rumors and gossip at school. As if reading my mind, the principal added, "We're implementing a new training program for all staff about appropriate teacher-student boundaries, and we'll be holding assemblies for students about recognizing and reporting concerning behavior. Your courage in coming forward has prompted some important changes at our school." After we left the office, Olivia turned to me. "Thank you," she said simply, "for seeing what I couldn't see, for stopping me from getting in that car." I shrugged, uncomfortable with the gratitude. Anyone would have done the same. "No, they wouldn't," she insisted. "Most people would have minded their own business, or they would have been too jealous to help me." I thought about that. She wasn't wrong. A week ago, I probably would have been secretly pleased to see Olivia in trouble. My jealousy had been eating me alive, but somewhere along the way, that had changed. "I was jealous of you for a long time," I admitted, "but not anymore. Now, I just want both of us to get into Yale and leave all this behind." She smiled for the first time in days. "Ms. Evans wrote me that recommendation letter," she said. "She said I have a strong application even without perfect grades." "That's great," I said, meaning it. "Maybe we'll be roommates." "I'd like that," she replied, and I was surprised to realize I would, too. The next few weeks were a blur of police interviews, meetings with the school administration, and trying to keep up with homework. The story made the local newspaper, though they didn't name any students. Mr. Davies was formally charged with inappropriate conduct with minors and using his position of authority to solicit relationships with students. More girls came forward, including some who had already graduated. It turned out Mr. Davies had been engaging in this behavior for years, but no one had reported it because each girl thought she was the only special one. Classic predator tactic. Through it all, Olivia and I stuck together. We studied for finals, worked on our college applications, and helped each other deal with the occasional nasty comment from students who still thought we'd overreacted. Ms. Evans checked in with us regularly, making sure we were handling the stress okay. One afternoon, as Olivia and I were leaving school, I spotted a familiar figure in the parking lot. It was my mom, leaning against her car and waving at me. I was surprised. She rarely picked me up from school, preferring that I take the bus. "Mom, what are you doing here?" I asked as we approached. She pulled me into a hug. "I wanted to surprise you. I got a call from your counselor today." I tensed. "Ms. Evans called you?" "Yes. She told me everything that's been happening about Mr. Davies and how brave you've been." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you, and I'm sorry I haven't been more present since your dad died." Over the past few weeks, I'd noticed my mom slowly emerging from the fog of grief that had surrounded her since Dad's accident. She'd started asking about my day again, cooking actual meals instead of just microwaving frozen dinners. It was like she was gradually coming back to life. Ms. Evans's call seemed to have accelerated that process. I introduced her to Olivia, and to my surprise, my mom invited her to come over for dinner. "Any friend of my daughter's is welcome in our home," she said warmly. As we drove home, with Olivia following in her car, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time, a sense of peace. My dad was gone, and nothing could change that. Mr. Davies had never been the father figure I needed, and I was finally okay with that. I didn't need a replacement for my dad. I just needed to remember what he taught me, to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And as for Yale, Ms. Evans emailed me the next day to let me know that both Olivia and I had been accepted. We were going to be roommates after all. I couldn't believe it when I got that email from Ms. Evans. Yale. Freaking Yale. After everything that had happened with Mr. Davies, getting that acceptance felt like the universe was finally cutting me some slack. Olivia was just as shocked as I was when she got her acceptance letter, too. We spent like an hour on the phone that night, planning our dorm setup and talking about which classes we wanted to take. The next day at school, we were practically floating through the hallways. A few people congratulated us when they heard the news, but most students were still wrapped up in the Mr. Davies drama. The local newspaper had published another article about him, this time including statements from 2 former students who had graduated years ago. Apparently, his creepy behavior went back at least 5 years. "Did you see the new article?" Olivia asked when we met up at lunch. She slid her phone across the table to me. I scrolled through it quickly, my appetite disappearing. One of the former students described how Mr. Davies had invited her to his house for private tutoring and then tried to kiss her. She was so freaked out that she never told anyone, just avoided being alone with him for the rest of the year. "This is so messed up," I said, pushing the phone back to Olivia. "How did he get away with this for so long?" "Because no one wanted to believe it," she replied, putting her phone away, including me. I couldn't argue with that. I hadn't wanted to believe it either at first. I'd been so desperate for Mr. Davies's approval that I'd ignored all the warning signs about his behavior toward Olivia and other girls. After school, Miss Evans called us into her office again. The principal was there along with a woman in a suit who introduced herself as the school district's attorney. "We wanted to update you on the situation," Ms. Evans said. "The district attorney has decided to pursue charges against Mr. Davies. They have enough evidence from his computer and phone records that you two won't need to testify in court." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The thought of having to face Mr. Davies in court had been keeping me up at night. However, the district attorney continued, "They may want to interview you again to prepare their case. And there's something else you should know." She paused, looking uncomfortable. "Mr. Davies has been released on bail. He's not allowed near the school or to contact any students, but he is back in the community." My stomach dropped. "He's out already?" "Unfortunately, yes. The judge set bail, and he was able to pay it. But he's wearing an ankle monitor, and he's under strict orders to stay away from both of you and the school." Olivia looked pale. "What if he doesn't listen? He already texted me after he was told not to contact students. If he contacts either of you in any way, call the police immediately," the attorney said firmly. "That would be a violation of his bail conditions, and he'd be sent back to jail." We nodded, but I didn't feel reassured. Mr. Davies had already shown he didn't care about rules or boundaries. What was to stop him from trying to confront us? As we left the office, Olivia grabbed my arm. "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if he tries to get revenge or something?" "He won't," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "He'd be stupid to try anything now. The whole town knows what he did." But I was worried too, so I decided to talk to my mom about it when I got home. To my surprise, she took it seriously right away. "I'm calling the school," she said after I explained the situation. "They need better security measures if there's a potential threat to students." I hadn't seen my mom this fired up in years, not since before Dad died. She spent the next hour on the phone, first with the principal, then with some other parents she knew. By dinner time, she had organized a group of parents to demand increased security at the school and a buddy system for students walking to and from the parking lot. "No one's going to mess with my kid," she said as she set a plate of spaghetti in front of me. "Or her friends." I almost cried. For so long after Dad died, Mom had been like a ghost in our house, physically present but emotionally checked out. Now she was back, fierce and protective. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed that side of her. The next day, there were security guards at all the school entrances, checking IDs and making sure no unauthorized adults entered the building. The principal made an announcement about the new safety measures without specifically mentioning Mr. Davies, but everyone knew what was going on. Olivia and I stuck together between classes. Some of the other girls who had come forward about Mr. Davies's behavior joined us, too. We formed a kind of unofficial support group, sharing our experiences and looking out for each other. Chloe, the junior who had told me about Mr. Davies inviting her to his house, became a regular part of our group. "I still feel guilty for not reporting him sooner," she confessed during lunch one day. "Maybe if I had said something, he wouldn't have been able to target anyone else." "It's not your fault," I told her. "He was the adult. He was the one abusing his position." "Yeah," Olivia added. "And he was really good at making each of us feel like we were the only special one. That's how predators work." I looked at Olivia with newfound respect. A month ago, she had been completely under Mr. Davies's spell. Now, she was helping other girls understand what had happened to them. It was pretty impressive. A week passed without any sign of Mr. Davies. The security measures at school remained in place, but I started to relax a little. Maybe he really was going to stay away and let the legal process play out. Then, on Friday afternoon, I was walking to my car in the student parking lot when I noticed a black sedan parked across the street. The same black sedan I'd seen Mr. Davies driving when he tried to pick up Olivia. My heart started racing. I couldn't see if anyone was inside because of the tinted windows. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police, when the car suddenly started and drove away. I stood there frozen, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. Was I getting paranoid? I decided not to mention it to anyone. There was no proof it was actually Mr. Davies' car, and I didn't want to freak Olivia out over nothing. But I made sure to park closer to the school entrance after that, and I always check my surroundings when walking to and from my car. The weekend passed uneventfully. I spent most of it studying for finals and working on scholarship applications for Yale. The tuition was steep, and even though I'd been accepted, I needed financial help to actually attend. On Monday morning, I arrived at school early to meet with Ms. Evans about a scholarship recommendation. As I walked through the nearly empty parking lot, I had that feeling again, like someone was watching me. I turned around quickly, scanning the area, but didn't see anyone. Get a grip, I muttered to myself. You're being paranoid. I hurried into the building, nodding at the security guard as I passed. Ms. Evans was already in her office, coffee in hand, looking tired but smiling when I walked in. Ready to work on those scholarship applications? She asked. I nodded, pushing my paranoia aside. We spent the next half hour going over my options and drafting a strategy for the applications. By the time the first bell rang, I was feeling much better. Oh, I almost forgot, Ms. Evans said as I was gathering my things. The police called yesterday. They found more evidence on Mr. Davies' computer. Apparently, he had folders with photos of several students, including both you and Olivia. I froze. Photos of me? But I never posed for any pictures for him. They were taken without your knowledge, it seems. Mostly in class or at school events. Nothing inappropriate, but still concerning given the context. I felt sick. The idea that Mr. Davies had been secretly taking photos of me made my skin crawl. All those years I'd spent trying to impress him, and he'd been creeping on me just like he had with Olivia and the others. Are you okay? Ms. Evans asked, noticing my expression. Yeah, just grossed out, I guess. That's understandable. But this is actually good news for the case against him. It shows a pattern of inappropriate interest in multiple students. I nodded and headed to my first class, still feeling unsettled. When I saw Olivia in English, I pulled her aside and told her what Ms. Evans had said. That's so creepy, she whispered, looking as disturbed as I felt. Do you think he has photos of other girls, too? Probably. Ms. Evans said there were several students in his folders. We didn't have time to discuss it further before class started, but we agreed to talk more at lunch. The substitute teacher was actually pretty good, much better than the first one we'd had. She was a retired English professor from the community college, and she knew her stuff. At lunch, our little support group gathered at our usual table. I told the others about the photos, and several girls looked worried. What if he has pictures of me, too? Chloe asked, biting her lip. The police will let you know if they find anything with your name on it, I assured her. That's what Ms. Evans said. We were all a bit subdued after that conversation. The reality of Mr. Davies' obsession with his female students was sinking in for all of us. It wasn't just Olivia he'd been targeting. It was any girl he thought he could manipulate. After school, I had a meeting with the yearbook committee. We were finalizing the senior section, and as editor, I needed to approve the layouts. The meeting ran late, and by the time I left, the school was mostly empty. The security guards were still at the main entrances, but the hallways were deserted. I walked quickly to the student parking lot, keys in hand. It was getting dark earlier now that winter was approaching, and the lot was dimly lit. I was about halfway to my car when I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around, heart pounding. It was Mr. Davies. He looked different than he had at school, unshaven with dark circles under his eyes, but it was definitely him, standing just a few feet away from me. We need to talk, he said, his voice eerily calm. I backed up, fumbling for my phone in my pocket. You're not supposed to be here. You're violating your bail conditions. I don't care about that anymore, he said, taking a step toward me. You've ruined my life. My career is over. My reputation is destroyed. All because you were jealous that I gave attention to other students instead of you. I kept backing up, trying to put distance between us. That's not true. You were inappropriate with multiple students. You took photos of us without permission. You tried to groom Olivia. His face twisted with anger. I was helping her. She needed guidance, someone who understood her potential. And you turned her against me with your lies. I finally got my phone out and held it up. I'm calling the police if you don't leave right now. He lunged forward, suddenly grabbing for my phone. I jerked back, but he caught my wrist, squeezing hard enough to make me gasp in pain. Let go, I shouted, trying to pull away. Not until you listen to me, he hissed. You're going to tell the police you made it all up. That you were jealous and wanted to hurt me. I'm not doing that, I said, still struggling to free my wrist. Let go of me, or I'll scream. His grip tightened. No one will hear you. The security guards are at the entrances, not out here. I was about to scream anyway when I heard another voice. Let her go, Mr. Davies. We both turned to see Olivia standing a few yards away, her phone held up. I'm recording this, she said, and I've already called the police. They're on their way. Mr. Davies's face went pale. He released my wrist and took a step back. Olivia, you don't understand. She's manipulating you. She's turned you against me because she was jealous of our connection. Olivia's expression hardened. There was no connection. You were grooming me, taking advantage of the fact that my parents are never around, making me feel special so I wouldn't question your behavior. She took a step closer, still recording. But I see through you now. We all do. I moved to stand beside Olivia, rubbing my sore wrist. In the distance, I could hear sirens approaching. Mr. Davies looked panicked now. He glanced around like he was considering running, but then his shoulders slumped in defeat. You have no idea what you've done, he muttered. Yes, we do, I said firmly. We stopped you from hurting more girls. The police arrived moments later, 2 patrol cars pulling into the parking lot with lights flashing. Mr. Davies didn't resist as they handcuffed him and put him in the back of one of the cars. An officer took statements from both of us, and another officer reviewed the video Olivia had recorded on her phone. You girls did good, the officer said when we'd finished our statements. He's going back to jail, and this time I doubt he'll get bail. Violating a restraining order and assaulting a minor, the judge won't look kindly on that. After the police left with Mr. Davies, Olivia and I just stood there in the parking lot, processing what had happened. How did you know to come back? I asked her. I forgot my calculus book in my locker, she explained. When I came back to get it, I saw his car parked down the street. I recognized it right away. So, I stayed hidden and called the police. Then, I saw him following you to the parking lot, and I knew I had to do something. Thank you, I said, my voice shaking a little. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't shown up. She shrugged, but I could tell she was shaken, too. That's what friends do, right? Look out for each other. Friends. It was still weird to think of Olivia that way after years of jealousy and resentment, but she had potentially just saved me from a dangerous situation. If that didn't make us friends, I didn't know what did. My mom freaked out when I told her what happened. She wanted to pull me out of school for the rest of the year, but I convinced her that wasn't necessary. Mr. Davies was in jail, and the school had increased security. Plus, I only had a few more months until graduation. I wasn't going to let him ruin that for me. The next few weeks were a blur of finals, college preparations, and one last police interview about the incident in the parking lot. Mr. Davies was denied bail this time, just as the officer had predicted. He was going to remain in jail until his trial, which was scheduled for the summer. Graduation day finally arrived. As I sat in the auditorium in my cap and gown, waiting for my name to be called, I couldn't help thinking about how much had changed in the past year. I'd lost my obsession with gaining Mr. Davies's approval. I'd found my voice and stood up for what was right. I'd made new friends, including Olivia, who was sitting a few rows ahead of me, her blonde hair visible under her cap. Most importantly, I'd started to heal from my dad's death. I would always miss him, but I no longer felt that desperate need to replace him. I had realized that no one could fill that role, and that was okay. I could carry his memory with me without trying to find him in other people. When the principal called my name, I walked across the stage with my head held high. I could see my mom in the audience, cheering loudly. Next to her was Ms. Evans, who had come to support all the students involved in the Mr. Davies case. After the ceremony, as we were taking photos outside, Olivia came up to me with a small gift bag. What's this? I asked, surprised. Just a little something for my future roommate, she said with a smile. Open it. Inside was a Yale sweatshirt and a framed photo of the two of us at the school's spring carnival, arms around each other's shoulders, laughing at something off camera. So we never forget where we came from, Olivia explained, and what we overcame to get where we're going. I hugged her, genuinely touched by the gesture. Thanks for everything. My mom joined us, insisting on taking about 1 million photos of me and Olivia in our caps and gowns. As she was snapping away, I caught sight of Ms. Evans talking to some other parents nearby. She caught my eye and gave me a thumbs up. That summer went by in a flash. Mr. Davies's trial was quick. With all the evidence against him, including the video Olivia had taken in the parking lot, He didn't stand a chance. He was sentenced to 5 years for inappropriate conduct with minors and violating his restraining order. When August rolled around, Mom and I packed up the car for the drive to Yale. Olivia and her parents met us there, and we moved into our dorm room together. It was small but cozy, with just enough space for our twin beds and desks. As we were unpacking, Olivia pulled out the framed photo she'd given me at graduation and placed it on her desk. "To remind us where we came from," she said again. I nodded, feeling a sense of closure. High school was behind us now, with all its drama and pain and growth. College was ahead, full of new opportunities and challenges. That night, as I lay in my new bed in my new dorm room, I thought about my dad. I wished he could have seen me graduate, could have helped me move into college. But I knew he would have been proud of me, not just for getting into Yale, but for standing up for what was right, even when it was hard. And that was enough.